They laughed. Not just laughed, my mom actually cried from laughing so hard. You spent every dollar you had on that, she said, pointing at the broken sign, cracked windows, and rusted pumps. My dad called it the dumbest decision anyone in our family ever made. But 1 year later, they weren't laughing anymore, because what they thought was junk turned into a goldmine. And I didn't just prove them wrong. I made them proud in the most unexpected way. I still remember the way their faces looked when I told them. My mom's jaw dropped, and she blinked like I'd just confessed to robbing a bank. My dad actually laughed out loud, one of those deep, sarcastic laughs that cut deeper than yelling ever could. You spent every penny you have on a junk gas station, he said, repeating it just to hear how ridiculous it sounded. And truthfully, I couldn't blame them. The place I bought wasn't just run down, it looked cursed. Faded paint peeled off the walls, weeds broke through every crack in the pavement, and the sign barely hung on by one rusted bolt, swinging in the wind like a ghost's warning. But to me, it wasn't junk. It was mine. Every inch of that abandoned lot was the start of something I could shape with my own hands. I was 24, fed up with job rejections and dead-end advice, tired of hearing that my dreams were too big or too vague. College hadn't given me direction, just debt. So I stopped listening to everyone else and followed my gut, even when it made no sense on paper. I found the listing online, old gas station, cheap, needs TLC. I called the owner, drove 3 hours to see it, and made an offer the same day. $18,000. Every last dollar I had saved from odd jobs, flipping used electronics, and cutting every corner in my life. I didn't sleep that night. I just stared at the ceiling in my tiny apartment, wondering if I'd just destroyed my future, or given it a real shot. When I got the keys, I didn't throw a party. I showed up at 6 a.m. in work boots, gloves, and an old hoodie. The place stank of mildew and dust, and raccoons had clearly made it their home. There were holes in the roof, graffiti on the walls, and years of forgotten trash piled behind the counter. But I wasn't scared. I was excited. Every problem was something I could fix. I cleaned first. Bag after bag of old soda cans, broken glass, shredded wiring, and forgotten memories. I scraped paint, patched the roof with leftover shingles from a Craigslist ad, and fixed the busted lights with parts from the junkyard. I didn't have money for contractors, so I became one. YouTube became my best friend. I learned how to replace cracked windows, rewire outlets, seal floors, and even repaint gas pumps. I worked until my back ached and my fingers bled. At night, I slept in the dusty back office on a camping mat, wrapped in 2 jackets because the heat didn't work yet. And still, I felt more alive than I ever had. Nobody visited. Not at first. People would drive by, slow down, then speed off. A couple of teenagers stopped one day just to laugh and take pictures. "Dude's trying to fix that haunted place," one said loud enough for me to hear. I didn't respond. I just kept scrubbing the graffiti off the front window. My phone buzzed less and less. Friends didn't understand what I was doing. Some told me I should sell it and cut my losses. Others just drifted away, uncomfortable with how obsessed I'd become. My parents called once a week, mostly to check if I was ready to come home and give up. I wasn't. I couldn't. Something about that cracked pavement and peeling walls made me feel like I was standing on the edge of something real. Not guaranteed success, but a shot. And for the first time in my life, I was the one taking it. Weeks turned into months. I got one of the pumps working after replacing a broken part one found in a junkyard and modifying it myself. I tested it over and over, filled an old jerry can, and stood back in disbelief when it worked. I had gas. Real, usable gas. I cleaned up the small bathroom and turned part of the garage into a coffee counter using scrap wood and a used Keurig. Someone gave away. My budget was gone, but I made up for it with creativity. I made a wooden sign that read, "Locally owned, coming soon," and set it near the road. Most people still didn't stop. But one night, everything changed. It was a stormy evening, wind howling, rain pouring, thunder rumbling across the fields. I was inside the office eating cold canned soup when I heard banging on the front door. A couple, soaked from the rain, were standing outside beside their broken down car. The man yelled through the glass, asking if I had gas. Their tank was bone dry and the nearest station was 15 miles away. I nodded, ran to the pump I'd fixed, and helped them fill up. I didn't charge them. They tried to pay, but I refused. They were shocked. Grateful. The woman looked around and said, "You're really fixing this place up. Good for you." Then they drove off. That moment, just that one quiet thank you under the rain, hit harder than all the doubt I'd ever heard. For the first time, someone saw what I saw. Not just an old gas station. A second chance. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the garage, watching the rain, imagining a line of cars, a buzzing coffee machine, lights glowing under the night sky, and people walking in with smiles. I imagined what it would feel like to not just survive, but thrive. I thought about my parents and their laughter. About the friends who stopped calling. And I promised myself that no matter how hard it got, no matter how slow progress seemed, I wasn't giving up. I was building something real. Not because it was easy, or glamorous, or smart on paper. But because deep down, I knew this was where my life began to change. The morning after that rainy night, I woke up with something new in my chest, like hope had finally found a place to settle. That couple's gratitude had sparked something in me, something bigger than just a business dream. It became about people. About building a place that meant something. I got up before sunrise again, wiped the fog off the dusty front window, and stared out at the quiet road that cut across the horizon. For the first time, I could see what this place might become, not just a pit stop, but a bright spot for travelers. A place with heart. Over the next few months, I poured everything I had into making that vision real. I made a small menu board for the coffee stand, used bright colors on the pumps and walls, planted flowers near the entrance, and set up a bench where folks could sit. I scavenged used furniture, bought bulk snacks on credit, and offered free coffee refills to anyone who asked. At night, I studied local business laws, marketing tricks, and solar energy installation guides. I found a cheap secondhand solar panel setup and installed it myself, clumsy and slow, but it worked. Slowly, the place began to shine again. People started to stop. First out of curiosity. Then because word spread. Truck drivers found the 24/7 sign comforting. Local parents brought their kids by for sodas and chips. I learned names, remembered coffee orders, and smiled more than I had in years. Still, it wasn't easy. I worked 16-hour days. Sometimes I'd go a week with barely $100 in profit. There were moments I sat alone at night, counting coins and wondering if I'd made a huge mistake. But then, someone would walk in, pat me on the back, and say, "You're doing something great here." And I'd keep going. About 6 months after the first customer, something unexpected happened. A small local news outlet ran a feature on me. Young man brings dead gas station back to life, 1 cup of coffee at a time. I didn't think much of it at first. But within 2 days, everything changed. People from all over the county started showing up. Social media posts tagged my station with captions like, "Support this guy, real heart, real hustle." Cars lined up outside. I had to buy more coffee makers. Local artists offered to paint a mural on the back wall. Even a food truck reached out to park in my lot. I was overwhelmed, exhausted, and thrilled. My daily profits doubled, then tripled. I finally paid off the last of my credit card debt and started saving again. But the moment that truly marked the turning point, the moment that ended the chapter of doubt forever, came one afternoon when I looked up from the counter and saw my parents walking in. My dad stepped in first, looking around slowly, eyes scanning the walls, the shelves, the clean floors. My mom followed, stunned. They didn't say anything at first. Just stood there, taking it all in. The gas station they once mocked was glowing. Customers were sipping coffee, a local guitarist was playing soft tunes outside, and the air smelled like fresh pastries and gasoline. I walked around the counter, my heart pounding like it did the day I bought the place. My dad finally spoke. Quietly, "You did this?" I nodded. He didn't laugh this time. His eyes were glassy. "We were wrong," he said. "We didn't see what you saw. But this is incredible." My mom hugged me tight, and for the first time in a long time, she didn't say anything critical. Just held on. We sat in the little side room I'd turned into a lounge, and I told them everything. How I'd fixed the pumps. How I'd lived on instant noodles for weeks. How strangers kept me going when no one else did. And when I finished, my dad leaned back, nodded slowly, and said, "We're proud of you. Truly proud." That night, I closed the station an hour early. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to sit with my parents under the neon glow of the sign, now fully repaired and bright, sipping coffee and watching the road I once stood on, alone. It felt like the past had finally caught up with the future I fought for. I had turned a pile of forgotten concrete and steel into a living, breathing place full of connection, trust, and warmth. The kind of place where strangers became regulars and failure had no seat at the table. When they left, my mom looked back at the sign one last time. "You didn't just prove us wrong," she said. "You showed us what belief looks like." I stood there long after their car disappeared down the road, the cool wind brushing my face. I thought about that first day, how empty and broken everything had seemed. I thought about the laughter, the doubt, the fear. And then I looked around. At what I'd built. Not just a gas station. A legacy. A second chance. A story worth telling. And in that quiet moment, I smiled to myself, because I knew the truth. Sometimes the best investment you'll ever make is in the thing nobody else sees value in, until you bring it to life. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and leave your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to The Silent Revenge for more powerful stories that hit home.